We'll be back in 30 seconds. Slide 7 through 14. Fantastic. I see a critical mass has gone through it. Man, there's so many people on this call now. I cannot find Tyler's name. Tyler, can you just press 5 on your phone, Tyler, and then you'll pop out. I'm going to go ahead and continue on now that you all have gotten a sneak preview. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Okay. Slide 7 through 14. If you look at slide 8, this is sort of given the nature of the caucus, we have to design a strategy, particularly around the caucus and particularly around the strengths of our campaign so that we can be very successful. First of all, I want to talk about what winning looks like. So in Iowa, it's all about outperforming expectations, right? You can go back in the history of Iowa caucuses, you can find people who were first place and didn't get any mentions, people who got second place, and that was considered a massive disappointment, people who got third or fourth place, and that was considered a massive upset success. It all depends on expectations. So for us, we need to outperform the expectations that the media and that people have for our campaign, and that will define a success, and that could launch Andrew successfully into the top tier as we rocket forward into New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, and Super Tuesday. So I think of Iowa as the launching pad for the campaign into other states. And what's necessary to have that biggest launching pad possible into the rest of the country is to outperform expectations. Part of that is emerging with a so-called ticket. There's sort of political wisdom says that there's a certain number of tickets coming out of Iowa, candidates who are able to continue into the other states. So we want to make sure Andrew comes out with one of those tickets and that he's a contender in all the states to come afterwards. So necessary to the strategy of the caucuses is effective targeting. Because of the 15% threshold I described earlier, something we are laser focused on is making sure that we are concentrating our forces in the areas where we can hit 15% successfully, right? It would not be smart to spread resources thinly across the state and evenly, such that you might have, as I have here in the slide, 7% support in all precincts, right? That would be outperforming the public polling, but that would not be getting 15% in key precincts. So it's critical that you concentrate your forces in your key areas, and that way you can get above the threshold in those key precincts. This is what's important to understand. Everyone in this race, including the front runners according to the public polling, are not going to be at 15% threshold everywhere. Everyone's going to have precincts where they're not viable. And so the smart thing to do and the mass-driven thing to do, per the ethos of Andrew and the ethos of our campaign, is to concentrate your forces in those places. What are the resources that we have at our disposal to concentrate? Where do we put our campaign staff, our team, our field organizers? Where do we direct volunteers like all of you? Where do we put our paid media investments? Where do we have events with Andrew? Because Andrew himself is the best. He's the best person to spread the message of anyone. And so where do we send him? And where do we send our campaign surrogates? And so we have built our plan around sending our resources into the pockets and the spots where we know we can get above the threshold and acquire delegates for Andrew and launch into other states. What are the factors in this decision? My next slide. Number one, the factors in these decisions about where we're honing in, where all of you will be canvassing, all of these sorts of things, is number one, the amount of supporters we have already picked up in these places. So we've had volunteers on the ground for months, we've had staff on the ground for months, and we have been actively going after people, knocking on doors, making phone calls, talking to people in communities to try to find supporters. And so we already know we've got places all across Iowa where we're doing incredibly well finding supporters. So obviously that's something that helps. Number two, another element of our decisions about where it is that we're spending our volunteer power is that we're going after a lot of the places in Iowa where other campaigns are far less active, where other campaigns aren't sending people, where other campaigns have written people off. And thirdly, we are reaching out to a much wider segment of voters than most of the traditional campaigns are. We're not just going after the folks who have caucused every single time over the last number of years. We're going after people who have not caucused before, people who are new to the political process, and so that has an impact on where we go and which doors we talk to, which houses we talk to, which people we talk to as well. Next up, this is some important context for people. You can see some stats on the caucuses previously. Those of you not looking at the slides, the critical takeaway here, if you look at the last 4 Democratic caucuses, is that turnout varies wildly, caucus to caucus, depending on a range of different factors. And no one that can know for sure what turnout is going to look like this year. What we can do to be effective is ensure that if turnout is high, we have a dedicated base of supporters who will show up, and that we're racking up the numbers necessary to get 15%, even in a high turnout scenario. We believe that a high turnout scenario could be great for us because that means we're bringing in new people. In a lower turnout scenario, we know that if some people are staying home, it's not going to be the Yang Gang. If it's going to be people staying home, it might be the supporters of other candidates. So we think we can do well in a low turnout or high turnout scenario, but it's important to realize that both are possible. Moving forward to our path to victory, it is important that that we sort of take all of these pieces of information and put them into context for how we hone in and how we win in the next 2 weeks. So there's really 2 very simple pieces to our action plan and our path to victory. First of all, we've already identified many supporters across Iowa. We know we have support all across the state in all different regions. We need to make sure that every single last person shows up to the caucuses at the right location and at the right time. Because of the fact that we're bringing in new people, we need to make sure, especially for those folks for whom this is their first time caucusing, that they know where and when to show up, and then we'll be successful. The second part of the path to victory is we need to take all the people who have said that Andrew is their second choice, or that people who said they're undecided, and persuade them that Andrew is their choice, yang them. We need to do that. There's no one better than the Yang Gang at taking someone who is quote unquote Yang curious and getting them to join the Yang Gang. So we need to both grow the Yang Gang, and then we need to make sure that that expanded Yang Gang turns out on caucus night. They know their place, they know their time. And if we do those 2 things, we will be successful on caucus night because we have all the ingredients that other campaigns would kill for. We have the enthusiasm, the dedication, we have the right candidate for the right moment, we have the organization to back it up. So that's in a very, very quick piece, that in a very quick explanation, that is how the caucus works, why it's different from a normal election, how that impacts our decisions as a campaign, and what are the key action steps for us to successfully execute a strategy that will be successful on caucus night in 2 weeks. So, excuse me. Let me see here. I am going to bring on our fearless field director. I've got to tell all of you, I did not expect it. I've never had this much difficulty. We're using the software Maestro Conference. I've never had this much difficulty identifying someone in a list because I've never had so many people on a phone call before. So I appreciate you all bearing with me during my finding of Tyler in this list. But it really is good news because nobody has, I have not experienced this before, at least having this much difficulty getting someone on a call. Give me one moment. Should find him shortly. There he is, Tyler Sterling. Fantastic. Okay. Tyler, your line is now unmuted. Thank you all for bearing with me. I'm just trying to find one name amongst 2,000. Tyler, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Yes, as Liam said, my name is Tyler Sterling. Yep, can you hear me?
You might be muted.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Hold on.
All right, I just got confirmation that you can hear me, so this is great. So many people on this call. This is amazing. We did this a similar call to push our phone calls just about exactly a month ago, and the numbers have grown exponentially. And I think that's the sentiment that everyone is feeling across the country, but more specifically here in Iowa. That the energy and that the buzz around Andrew is really growing.
If folks can, now that we're bringing Tyler onto the line, if folks can hear Tyler, can they press 3 if they're hearing Tyler? You could hear him. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, just wanted to make sure there were some people saying we can hear him. Okay, fantastic. Tyler, go right back to it.
Okay. All right, cool. Just speaking about the energy, the amount of people on this call is really crazy. And to have seen that grow in such a short time is exactly what we're trying to do and what we are replicating here in Iowa on the ground. So going into engagement organizing, engagement canvassing, slide 15 is how we use that energy. We use our boots on the ground to persuade and engage in a conversation with our caucus goers, or our likely caucus goers, or first-time caucus goers at the door to do that persuasion. As Liam alluded to and pointed at, that there is one thing that all of our supporters can do and are very excited about is talking about Andrew and why Andrew is the best choice for president. Not only just about Andrew, but more specifically about his character and his policies as to what makes him the best choice for president. So going into engagement canvassing, slide number 15, we can go to actually 16, the next slide here. Step number 1, going to a campaign office to get trained and sign up. First thing, we would love once you are here to reach our team on the ground, have a great conversation with our team there. We're excited. We have tons of materials and resources, talking points, sort of do's and don'ts. We have everything ready to go for you within our field offices. And once speaking with them, we will get you into a targeted precinct. It's very key, as Liam just talked about, why the targeting and specific precincts are very important to our messaging. Ranking. So what's different about our whole scale approach is that in our conversations, we ask people to rank Andrew 1st through 5th, or if they're not sure, is undecided. What's great about that is that we're not immediately creating the binary yes, no. Do you like Andrew? Do you not like him? I mean, we all can tell his likability is just great. But I mean, in terms of a campaign standpoint and a field strategy, what we're doing here is putting people into sort of buckets, if you will, and then we have the opportunity to really have a true conversation with them, a values-based conversation with them, to then escalate that support from whatever ranking that they had to go back up. So that's step number 2. Step number 3, telling your personal story. Why do you support Andrew? Meaning just engaging in a real conversation with voters. With specifically here in Iowa and all across the country, but here in Iowa, Iowans are hit with political ads on the radio, on television, digital ads, mailers. Like, you cannot go into a restaurant with TVs and not see at least 5 different political ads from 5 different candidates. Like, the ads are everywhere, mailers are everywhere. You're seeing lawn signs. But what people aren't exactly doing to the level that we are, and to the as successful as we are, is just truly talking to voters. Getting to know them on the personal level and turning it from just a potential caucus goer, a caucus commit, to a human being who has interests, who has likes and dislikes, who has fears, hopes, and dreams. I mean, this is what we're doing in terms of putting humanity first, is treating someone as a human first, and then looking to get that caucus commit, then looking to make what we can gain out of it. But we got to meet people where they are first. So that's what the door-to-door canvassing comes from, which actually can lead into step number 4, which is listening more than you talk. We find that to be we have success rates all over, and different methods work for different folks. But by and large, because Iowans here are so used to being spoken at, that if you go to their door and just ask a few questions, you'll find that people are willing to talk. They are willing to tell you their thoughts and opinions. And I think even more so with Andrew, because he does have the reputation of being the candidate that listens. the candidate that takes what is being said and responds to the answer. He doesn't just give political rhetoric and platitudes. He answers to the specific question that is asked. He looks you direct in the eye and he answers you. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is to replicate Andrew's sentiments and his characteristics at the door. It's just treating people as humans, looking them in the eye, and then talking, engaging in a real conversation. So if you're listening more than you talk, you can hear about what they'll give you little tidbits and clues into their life, and then you can find out from those facts into their life about turning that into why you support Andrew, why Andrew is the best choice, attaching that to a value, and making sure that our campaign's values align with theirs. Because somewhere in our 160 plus policies, like, you will find something to align with a voter, and you will find a policy that attaches to their value. So the step 5, the most important of all of this, is that you are collecting the data from the conversations that you are having with these individuals, so that we then can put them in these sort of buckets, as I've said earlier, and then escalate them up the process. So slide number 17. This is just a little deeper dive into how the engagement process goes. So asking people to consider, what made you decide to support Andrew? So your personal story is not a static thing. I mean, everyone has different stories and different reasons as to why they've made the decisions that they do, but you should feel by all means empowered to tell people why you felt the need to support Andrew. Is it perhaps how has your family been impacted by politics? Is it that if a major medical emergency were to arise, you'd have to decide between paying that medical bill and then having pay your light bill? Is it that the pressures of everyday life and economic stress have brought a stress upon your family and thus your marriage, which would point to 2 policies that Andrew looks to change, looks to implement once we get him in the White House. So these are just things to consider and to take your feelings, your passions, your values, tying them to what the person is saying, and then tying that back to Andrew. Our next slide here is the yangnearme.com/IA map. So the way you can go through those 5 steps we just went over is to go to that link. It'll point you to a directory, to a map, which is on the next slide, which has all of our offices, our field, a bit of a plan to the top left corner, and it will direct you to where you can get looped in and involved with our field team. Our organizers are great. Our whole team is great, and you will have people waiting there for you, smiling, ready to intake, ready to take some pictures, get all of your information, and then send you out with all of the resources you need to help us continue to trend on the path forward. So, yes, that leads us to, if you can commit to Canvass in Iowa before the caucus, we would like for you to press 1.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Tyler. Wow, a lot of people rolling in. I'm going to give it another second. A lot of ones. Fantastic. So, or Tyler, was there anything else you wanted to add on canvassing before we move on?
Nope, I'm good.
Cool. I was going to say we got a bunch of people pressing 1. So every single person here, if you want to get plugged in to do that persuasion and in that engagement that Tyler just talked about, go to the link, find the office nearest to you, go to the office. We got people there who are excited to train you and get you started, and they'll give you a target precinct where we need you to go to engage people and to yang them. But also pressing 1, every single person who presses 1, you'll get a follow-up tomorrow with that information sent to you directly about where you can go to get trained. So thanks for pressing 1. I'm going to put the hands down now. I've logged who's done that. Every single person, you'll be getting the follow-up that will direct you to the map of all of our offices. So you can see exactly where you can go to get trained. Fantastic. Thank you all so much. Next up, I'll take the next section. So basically the meat of this call, because we already talked about the caucusing and the strategy, is sort of these big four things, right, that we need to do in order to win, in order to be successful. So thing one was what Tyler just spoke about: engagement canvassing. Critical. We have to do it. Thing two, oh, sorry. I just got to share something with all of you. This is the throes of real-time conference calling for a campaign. So I don't know, maybe some of you have heard this, but we actually, as I was getting texts and Slack messages that some people were not able to get on the call. So we have a bunch of people on, but there are more people who wanted to get on who had RSVP'd who were not able to dial in. And the team here just informed me that we had so many people trying to dial in that we crashed the Maestro conference servers. So they're on one of our team members, Katie, is on the phone with Maestro conference right now, and that's what they said, that we had so many people try to dial in that it crashed. So good job, Yang Gang. We crashed the Maestro conference with our enthusiasm. So good work there. We'll probably have to have a second one of these maybe tomorrow for everyone who wasn't able to join tonight. Anyway, back to it. So the four big things that we need. That was number one, engagement canvassing. Number two is what I'll go through. It's called Reach. So all of you who are in Iowa, whether you've lived in Iowa your whole life or maybe you're just visiting for a couple of weeks to help Andrew, you're living your life. You're out there. You are going to restaurants, you're going to bars, you're taking Ubers and Lyfts. You're interacting with people all the time. And every great member of the Yang Gang knows one of the best things to be doing is to Yang people in the wild, right? Talk to your Uber driver, talk to the person sitting next to you at the bar, talk to someone at the community center or someone that you meet on the street. Tell them about Andrew, engage them in conversation, and get them to join the Yang Gang. There's no better thing you can be doing when you're going throughout your day to grow the Yang Gang as much as possible. What I have to announce to you all today, I think a few of you have been included on our beta test, but we're ready now to launch this in a really big way for the next 2 weeks, is this amazing app called Reach that our team has worked on syncing up with all of our systems. What Reach will do is it allows us to collect the data and the math from every conversation that you have when you're yanging someone. So what does this mean? Those of you who've had that experience of yanging someone on the street or at the bar or in Uber or wherever it is, there's nothing like it. It's an amazing feeling. But the problem with just yanging people is that we don't collect the data of that person. So then when it comes time for when caucus day rolls around, that person, we don't know that you spoke with. We don't know what precinct they live in. We don't know who they are, what their name is. We can't contact them because we don't know about them. And so we cannot contact them to remind them to go caucus and give them their caucus information about their correct place and their correct time. So for those conversations to make an impact, we have to absolutely log the data. We're a data-driven campaign. We're a math-driven campaign. And we want to follow up with every single person that you talk to and that you get excited about Andrew. We want to follow up with them during those critical days right before the caucus to make sure they show up. So Reach will allow you to do that. So all of you are looking at the slides. You can see the link. It's another bit.ly link. It's bit.ly or bit.ly/yang_reach_guide. But I would recommend all of you just open up the deck if you haven't already and find the links to the guide. And it will explain to you basically how it works. Functionally, what it means is no matter where you are, you strike up a conversation with someone, you get them excited about Andrew. Then once you've had that conversation, you just open up your phone, you open up the Reach app, you just search their name or their address, you find them right when you're talking to them, and then you mark them as Andrew is their first choice, and they're going to commit to caucus for Andrew. And then simply like that, takes you 10 seconds. Once you mark them as a supporter in Reach, then the campaign will reach back out to them come caucus time to get them to show up. So simple, and it works really, really well. So imagine if every single conversation that is happening all out there, we were able to remind them. You can think of in aggregate, those conversations are going to have a seismic impact on caucus night. So per the slide, my ask for everyone here is if you want the invitation to get onto the Yang Reach app where you can input this data from your conversations, press 2. Anyone who wants to get on Reach, press 2. And we will make sure that tomorrow you get an invitation to join the Yang Reach app. Fantastic. Wow, a lot of people rolling in. Tyler, was there anything else you wanted to add about Reach and how it works?
I am good on that.
Fantastic. Excellent. Okay. Excellent. Amazing, amazing. Wow. Over 50% of everyone on the call said yes to Reach. Okay, so all of you will make sure that you get an invitation tomorrow to get on Reach and start yanging everyone that you meet, collecting the data. Fantastic. I'm going to pass it. Or actually, no, I'm going to continue going and pass it to Tyler for our final thing. So recapping as we go. Number 1, engagement canvassing, talking to voters at our key target doors, knocking on doors. Number 2, using Reach in your everyday conversations. Number 3, which is what I'm going to talk to you about now, being a Yang precinct captain is the third big thing that we need for this strategy to work. So taking a step back, let's say that we do all this successfully. We execute correctly over the next 2 weeks. We canvass our target doors. We're using Reach when we're in conversations with people on the street. We're finding and gaining new supporters every single day during this final sprint to the caucuses. Then the big day, February 3rd, comes, and there are all across these 1,682 precincts, there are Yang supporters showing up. We need to be as organized as possible on caucus night during the caucuses in order to maximize delegates for Andrew. What that means is we need to have a precinct captain at every single one of those locations across the state. So don't fret. We have many, many precinct captains already, but I think it's important to offer the opportunity to be a precinct captain to everyone on this call. Everyone on this call, your folks who've been dedicated to this mission, whether you've been in the Yang Gang for weeks or whether you've been in it for months or even years, being a precinct captain is one of the sort of most exciting responsibilities a member of the Yang Gang can have in this critical time. What being a precinct captain means is this. At that given location, you're the point person for all the Andrew Yang supporters who show up. So what they'll be doing is supporters will be instructed to find their precinct captain when they show up on caucus night. So they'll look to you. You'll have a special precinct captain Iowa hat. You'll have a precinct captain badge. You'll be the person that the supporters gather around. You'll also be the person who is leading the persuasion of other people. So when folks show up to caucus and maybe they're not sure who they want to caucus for, you as a precinct captain would be responsible for making sure you go over to that person, engage them in conversation. Say, hey, here's why I like Andrew. Why don't you come over and stand in the corner with the Yang group? So you're the ambassador of the campaign there in the room where the decisions are actually being made. So it's a huge responsibility, but it's a real privilege as well. That's the major thing that a precinct captain does. The other thing a precinct captain does is in the days leading up to the caucus, you should be canvassing your precinct. So that precinct, you'd be talking to voters, finding people, yanging people, meeting people, knocking on doors, so that you can bring as big a group with you as possible on caucus night. So bringing a precinct captain is a huge responsibility. But if that sounds like a huge job or sounds overwhelming, it's really not. We have, I'm happy to say, a great member of our team, Connor Murphy, who is the leader of our precinct captain program. He runs nightly training for precinct captains at 8 p.m. Central Time. So anyone who wants to be a precinct captain, you absolutely should sign up, and you should get trained by Connor. and then you can show up on caucus night and be the person who is the leader for all the Yang supporters in the room. I'll say one quick note about that. Those of you who are wondering, if you are not from Iowa, you still are able to be a precinct captain. You cannot caucus yourself, obviously, but you're allowed to be a precinct captain. So if you are from out of state and you'd like to be a precinct captain, you'll be in Iowa on February 3rd. You're more than welcome to sign up. And then what you'll receive is, after you sign up, you'll receive an email with a notification about where you're being assigned for which precinct we'd like you to be stationed in. You'll be given a specific assignment. So that's really all there is to say about being a precinct captain. It's immense responsibility. We'd love everyone here to sign up to do it. I'm going to, per the slides, those of you looking at it, all of those you can see, there's a rhythm here. If you are interested in being a precinct captain, please go ahead and press 3 to be a precinct captain, if you have interest in being a precinct captain. And we will make sure you all get a follow-up. Go ahead and press 3 on your phone. If you, whether you are in Iowa or from out of state, if you are interested in being a precinct captain on caucus night, go ahead and press 3. Give it a second. Fantastic. Excuse me. That's excellent. Wow. Seeing a lot of people sign up. Wonderful. Also now, to every single person who just pressed 3 on their phone, I would encourage you, or I'd say you really need to do this. Go to the special sign-up page for being a precinct captain, and you'll get all the follow-up information that you need. So we have you from pressing 3, but also you'll get faster follow-up if you just go ahead and sign up actively yourself. Those of you who are looking at the deck, you can see the link to do that. Go ahead and do that right now, or do that right after the call. For everyone who is not looking at the deck, the link to go to sign up to be a precinct captain is yang2020.com/IA-captain. I'll repeat that one more time for everyone to write down. Anyone who wants to be a precinct captain should sign up here after this call. The link is yang2020.com/IA-captain. Fantastic. So everyone, go there after this call, sign up, and you will get a follow-up email or text message the next day, getting you plugged in to get trained to be a precinct captain for Andrew on caucus night. Fantastic. That's all we have there. I'm going to kick it back to Tyler for the 4th and final piece of what we need to do to win. Tyler?
Yep. Thank you. This is so exciting to have so many people on the call, crashing servers. I feel that, again, as I said the first time I spoke, the energy is here. And if the energy, something I like to say in giving our trainings, if the energy just stays with us, then it's all for naught. So we've got to use this energy to reach out to other voters, reach out to Iowans, reach out to your friends, your neighbors, anyone with the tools that we have, like Reach now, and literally any person, any interaction you have can potentially be an opportunity to track and get a caucuser for Andrew. So if you are not physically coming to Iowa, then the biggest thing you can do is help us call for Yang. And the first thing that I want to say about going over this is that this is not a scary, daunting process. This is a simple 60-second call where you are gathering data. You are asking someone if they would mind for 60 seconds of their time to ask where they would rank Andrew. That crucial 30 seconds of that portion right there, those 30 seconds are so very important to our field team's operations. You just getting that ID, that one ID, asking where they rank, even if they just say, well, I don't have much time, but I guess I'd say Andrew's my third choice. Maybe they say Andrew's their third. That one piece of information does so much for our field team then. We can come in knowing that the person has Andrew ranked as their third and then go through those engagement processes. So if you're able to do just that little ask on the phone with an Iowan, asking them where they place Andrew, you are putting our team in such a great place for victory. You're putting our team on the pathway that then we can follow up with these people and engage with the door-to-door, with the more persuasive discussions. There will be an opportunity to if you're feeling eager and antsy and want to start persuading, there will be an opportunity to perhaps do that over the phone. But right now, this data collection is so very crucial to our success and how our field team can operate. You getting that one ID means that within a day, 2 days, we can follow up with them, go to their door, have that conversation, and our team, really the gears are clicking, and they know that, as I talked about earlier, the TV ads, the mailers, the digital ads, like it's just many different ways that we can get Andrew. We can be the representation of Andrew in front of them. So they get the call from you. They see a TV ad. They see someone share something on Facebook. 2 days later, a wonderful volunteer shows up at their door and tries to engage in a real conversation about them. And therefore, we are sort of permeating and going through their thought process that, hey, this guy, Andrew, he's got a real team and a real shot, and they're doing some things. So if you are unable to get to Iowa, we, of course, would love to have you, but understand some people may not be able to do. The next best thing you can do is call for Yang. So how you can do that is by joining our calling team. What we would like for you to do then is to go to yang2020.com/call. There is a wonderful video. There is a guide with instructions. As many of you, how you found out and got this call and heard was from our amazing distributed team, which has put all of this together into the dialer. Wonderful videos, wonderful talking points, just really trying to ease everyone's minds in that you don't have to have those deep engagement conversations. It truly is just a, hi, I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to see if you have just 60 seconds of time to engage in a conversation, ask them a few questions about where they rank Andrew, perhaps what issues they care about. But that ranking is so very crucial to how our team will be successful come February 3rd. So if you can go to yang2020.com/call, all of the instructions are there. Again, we have an amazing distributed team who set forth all this, laid it out. It is wonderful. You shouldn't have any questions upon going there. But if you do, they're always on standby to answer those questions as well. So it's a great plan set forth, and it is just a simple ask that really takes the first step, that first identification off of our team's back, and really puts us in a position to be on the ground, engaging in those real conversations and not having to figure out where their support lies. We can go right in with a strategy, knowing how the conversation should flow, and turn that person from perhaps an undecided or a 3, as I mentioned, into a full-on Yang supporter. So want to have you go there. And then I believe what we're going to do is anyone who is not able to make it to Iowa, or maybe you're coming to Iowa in a few days and you still have a few nights or days worth of time before you get here, we would like for you all to press 4 to join the calling team. So that can be everyone on the call if you got time to make some dials, get some IDs for our team, so then we can do that engagement and move them up the chain to being full-on Yang supporters. So if you could press 4 to join that calling team, that would be a huge help to our team here on the ground. Before I give it back to our state director, Liam, to end the call, I just want to thank all of you so much for joining. It's so exciting to have this many people on the call. The energy is it's around our office for sure right now, just hearing that the Maestro servers couldn't handle the Yang, and now they probably won't be able to handle the Yang in Iowa. So we're going to come out victorious because of all of you on the call. So thank you so very much, and I'm going to pass it back on over to Liam.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I appreciate it. So to sum up, I want to recap, and then I want to leave you all with a quick story. Recap: the caucus is given from a primary. We've built our strategy specifically around the caucus. We have a very simple path because our enthusiasm and our support is growing. And so we need to use the thing that is our competitive advantage against the other campaigns, which is all of you. Other campaigns wish that they had a Yang Gang, but only we do. So we are going to use that weapon in the next 2 weeks, use that resource the next 2 weeks effectively in those target areas. And every single one of you is going to be doing one or more of the 4 big things that we talked about. Number 1, engagement canvassing. Number 2, using the Reach app to talk to people in your everyday conversations. Number 3, being a Yang precinct captain on caucus night. And number 4, calling from home. So 4 big things. Every single one of you can do one or more of those things. And those are the biggest and most impactful things we can do that will make the biggest impact on caucus night. So can't express enough how much I appreciate all of you being a part of this, taking on one or more of those tasks and drilling in for the next 2 weeks. And I think we'll see the impacts and the effects very, very quickly before we know it. The last, excuse me, sorry, last piece I wanted to share with everyone before we sign off is that there was an old man here in, I'm calling from Des Moines, an older man here in Des Moines who he was very excited by the fact that a couple of months ago, when Andrew was here in Iowa for a trip visiting some key counties, Andrew was in Des Moines, and Andrew used an Uber to get from one place to another, and this older gentleman was his Uber driver, and this gentleman, his name is Warren, and Warren was so thrilled that he got to drive Andrew Yang around. And then just so I'd heard from Andrew that this older gentleman was so enthused and excited, and that was very excited by Andrew's campaign and thought that he could win Iowa and he could be very successful here. Then just a couple of days ago, one of our staffers here happened to be getting an Uber again, and it was Warren, the driver. And the staffer was hearing the story from Warren about what it was like to drive Andrew around Des Moines. And Warren said that the thing that he liked most about his time in the car with Andrew was that he just seemed like a really good person, just seemed like a good guy. And anyway, that struck home with me, because for those of you who are not in Iowa, the beauty of campaigning here, and all of you who are here experience this every day, is that campaigning is so much on the human-to-human level, right? It's directly from Andrew to one person, directly from Andrew to a group of 30, to a group of 300, to a group of 700 the other night at Drake University. It's also person to person for every single one of you, whether it's on the phone, it's a conversation that you have that you log on to Reach, or a conversation that you have while canvassing. Iowa is a person-to-person kind of state in the way that people make their decisions. And so I think that speaks even more to the impact that we can have here. And, then after that experience, Warren went and told all of his friends, and you can imagine a lot of them are going to be caucusing for Andrew. So we have a great candidate, but even more than that, we have a great team with all of you. So I can't express my appreciation for that enough. And every single one of you who signed up for one of those 4 tasks, you'll be getting a follow-up tomorrow. And then let's go shock the world in Iowa. Thank you, everyone.